Let's go.
It's your back, it dey keep passing. It dey bring out the best thing. I dey feel your recipe. Make you give me that recipe. Fine, fine. Yeah, you fine. You so divine. I dey feel you die.
What's happening, people? We got a new episode of Awesome Entertainment. It's your boy Joel Awesome. All right, we breaking down. We going into Spider-Man Brand New Day. I did a non-spoiler review and a spoiler review. If you ain't seen none of them or want to see those, check them out. If you want to watch the non-spoiler, check out the non-spoiler. I think there's spoilers in this. I'm getting into this article, so I'm not sure. So spoiler warning, if you ain't seen the movie, maybe hit save, watch later, and come back. Make sure you hit like, share, subscribe. But the only reason why I clicked this article, I wasn't even looking for an article. I honestly wasn't. I was probably going to do a video reaction, but I'll do that too. But I was just looking for a picture for the backdrop, as you can see. And this article said everything I was thinking. So I was like, let me go ahead and read it too and see if they think what I'm thinking. But this is the title. This is how the title got me. Spider-Man Brand New Day review. The MCU wastes its chance for a fresh start with a dull, downbeat sequel. Brand New Day should have been the movie that got MCU back on track. Instead, it epitomizes why things have gone off the rails. Yes. All right, man. So I think this movie was fucking boring, man. It was so slow. It was so boring. Like, the fights were good. That's what makes me mad. The fights were good. The webbing was good. The swinging was good. But the movie itself was so boring, so slow. He's not fighting Spider-Man villains. He's fighting Hulk, Jean Grey, and Damage Control. And I'm like, okay, there's a couple Spider-Man villains they sprinkle in, but like, it's just, what are you doing? And the number one issue, I've been saying this about MCU, DC, the Venomverse, any of that shit, all them things, all the reason why all of them are failing, they suck, is because they keep skipping steps. They're trying to jump to the next thing faster. So this movie was stuffed with a bunch of people with no actual like weight to it, to where you felt like you gave a fuck. Anyway, so let me read this. All right. Let me get some water, man. I've been complaining. I've been mad. Can't believe these niggas, man. All right. 8 years of multiverse shenanigans and momentum killing Disney Plus shows have reduced Marvel Cinematic Universe from the most reliable money printing machine in film history to a sadly confused shadow of its former self. But Dustin Daniel Cretton's Spider-Man Brand New Day, which accepts its premise that most people can't possibly remember or care about whatever nonsense has transpired since this mega franchise split into several overdeveloping dimensions, offers such a perfect shot at redemption that it threatens to make all far starts and fuck-ups post-Endgame seem like they were part of the plan. Yes. This was your shot. That's what this. Let me just wrap that up because they said a bunch of shit. This was your chance to fix everything. This was your chance to make it make sense, right? This is your. You ever mess up something? Mess up your homework so bad, and the teacher was like, "Look, you can do corrections and turn it in for some more credit." This is like a test. This is like a midterm, like a final. And then someone's like, yo, y'all been fucking up last time, but this final right here is open book. And you still failed. It's like, bro, what is this? All right, man. Whew. I mean, the film is practically called We're Starting Over. And its drama's crux hinges on Peter Parker and his beloved MJ clawing away the cobwebs of mass amnesia in a bid to get back together. Get each other back together. Back to what matters, back perhaps to the sustainable, dramatically satisfying balance that Sam Raimi once struck between Spider-Man's power, the enduring hold, his boyish reluctance over the public imagination, and his responsibility, making superhero movies profitable and relevant again. That's the number one thing, which it did not happen. It'll probably be profitable. Relevant, I don't know, man. Alas, we are not so back. In fact, Brand New Day is only a few degrees of fraudulent advertising of the never-ending story. Oh my God, not only does the MCU's 4 dedicated Spider-Man outing fail to undo the damage done to its brand since Thanos died in 2019, this dull, downbeat action sequel goes out of its way to epitomize why the mega franchise has lost so much of its sauce over the last 7 years. The film, meanwhile, clumsily slings between a Peter Parker grief drama, a Frank Castle buddy comedy, forced but funny. That exactly what I'm saying. He's not supposed to. It was okay, but it's not supposed to be there. And a labored setup for the next few phases of Marvel character mix and match. A triumphant victory for entertainment lawyers everywhere. But back, as the late Maya Angelou famously never said, when someone tells you that there's no way home, believe them. Yeah, No Way Home, it epitomizes this movie, man. You can't make it back. On a completely unrelated note, here's something you'd never have guessed from reading that last paragraph. Sony inexplicably waited to screen this 145-minute movie for critics until 7 p.m. the night before its 9 a.m. review embargo, meaning that some of us hypothetically might have been forced to hammer out their copy well after midnight because their 3-year-old daughter woke up when they got home, demanded they sit at the foot of her bed, then started crying whenever they tried to sneak out of the room. Hypothetically, not that would you'd be able to tell. All right, bro, you're getting a little too personal. Don't give a fuck. Talk about the movie. Anyway, Spider-Man Brand New Day is at its most functional a movie about how much it sucks to make friends after college. Bro, this movie right here, man. Why did y'all spend money on this? I'm at the point where I'm like, yo, with Marvel, y'all could just set up a fight and just have them fight for 2 hours and not even tell a story because apparently, I just don't get why you would it's not targeted to kids. Kids don't want to hear this shit about, oh man, I was in college trying to make friends. It's not targeted to kids. It's not targeted to adults. I'm like, who is this for? All right, let me get back into it. There's a reason why high school besties, Ned and MJ, sharp heart trending in the scant few moments that Chris McKenna and Eric Somers garble script invites her character to recognize some kind of emotional truth. Stuck close to each other at MIT before co-leasing an apartment in NYC after they graduated. No such luck for Saddle Peter, who's been left to yearn for his 2 closest pals over Instagram since they forgot him at the end of their previous film together. He did it for their own protection, but living with hard sacrifices doesn't come easy. And our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has learned to cope with his loneliness by obsessively focusing on his underpaid job as a volunteer crime fighter. The city loves him so much that you would think he just arrested international war criminal Benjamin. I don't even know who the hell that is. But it's hard for Peter to take in the public's affection when only people who ever really knew he was under the mask no longer remember who he existed. Let's talk about this real quick. All right. So he's coping with the loneliness by focusing on his underpaid job as a volunteer crime fighter, and the city loves him so much. Didn't Kingpin set up some shit in the city to where everybody hated fucking superheroes? Wasn't Kingpin the mayor? They didn't mention none of this shit. And that's kind of the issue. It's like, bro, y'all are in New York and you don't mention, it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 different New Yorks. Right? And they ain't mentioned nothing about Kingpin or Daredevil or the riot in the city or where the Punisher was killing everybody in one last kill. That the movie is even fleeting able to dramatize the character's heartsick inner turmoil is a credit to Tom Holland, who can't help but appear more capable in the immediate afterglow of the Odyssey. Here he delivers his most nuanced and mature Spider-Man performance to date as Brand New Day repeatedly calls on the now 30-year-old actor to flip between wounded nostalgia, bitter self-pity, and isolating discomfort of entering a new phase of life. Peter tries to focus his energy on catching a mysterious telepath who can hijack people's minds by hopping from one brain to another like a skip rock on the surface of the lake. The relatively lo-fi effect of their psych daisy chaining is its way from body to body across Manhattan is much neater and more upsetting than what superhero movies usually muster. The aesthetic flourished, however, can't redeem how frustrating the character tees up their greatest purpose in Marvel in the MCU. I'm stuttering because I'm over here thinking about what the fuck they's talking about. Yeah, it looked cool. It was very interesting when there was this person is possessing people, jumping from person to person. Only Spider-Man can sense it. It was cool. And then they just kind of like went away from it. And then it was like, oh, it's Jean Grey and she's just trying to figure out where her sister is. And it was like, well, that's not that scary anymore. It's like they undid the coolness of that part. That's when the movie was like, oh, that was the most interesting part of the movie, was when she was jumping from person to person. We didn't know who she was. But then Jean just starts pulling up. It didn't make any sense. I'm like, I've been controlling people from way the fuck back there. But now I'm pulling up in the back seat of the car. Now I'm pulling up myself. Why? Why did she even reveal herself? Either way, it was cool if that was just the villain. If the villain was just somebody who jumped from person to person, that would have been a better villain than Jean just controlling people's mind from person to person. Jean being the villain is so just dry, bro. It's just dry. Like, imagine I did a Batman movie and the villain is Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, what? Where can we get a villain? Can we get some evil? You know what I mean? Some evil. You know, I just can't get up. What are we doing? It's hard enough for Spider-Man to catch an enemy he can't even see, and it only gets harder when the bad guy traumatizes Peter so badly that his arachnid hormones start spiking out of control. Sure, the whole Spider-Man losing control of his abilities thing is a bit played out, but Brand New Day at least makes it a little fresh by keying the character's self-disgust with both his emergent proclivity for projectile web ejaculate, and also his wife in general. You use some big words over here. That's more than can be said for how the film makes use of Bruce Banner, whose tedious appearance is still the least contrived of the many ways that Marvel shoehorns random characters into inadvertently spaced Spider-Man story. Yes, and one that often seems at risk of forgetting its hero just like everybody else. It's bad form for critics who use the word boring, but nothing with 8 legs would ever move this slow. Oh, wait, I didn't know it was bad form for critics to use boring, because that shit was boring, nigga. Pointless, dry, uninteresting. I will say this about Hulk. Hulk on-screen transformation was great. I liked it. I thought the Hulk looked great physically himself. The look of him compared to She-Hulk was way better. He looked cool. I like that he got bigger the angrier he was, and that speed was like, oh, I never seen you get this big. You know, they try to redeem the Hulk a little bit. I think that was if anybody got redeemed in this, it was the Hulk, just from a little bit. But even he was a whole nothing burger at the end of the day. It just didn't matter. The other offenses range from an amusingly potato-obsessed cameo by Redacted, but a major supporting role for John Bernthal's hilariously useless Punisher, who graduates to the big leagues from the depths of streaming hell and reminds us of the fact that constantly invoking an incident that happened on TV. Did it happen on TV? I don't remember when. I never saw that shit happen. And while Bernthal is delightful as a trigger-happy nuisance whose solution to every problem is to bust out a bigger and bigger guns, Cretton lets him go full De Niro parody from the moment he shows up. Even his best moments distract from the essence of Spider-Man's emotional conflict. That's what I was saying. Like he was a comedic relief in the movie, but it didn't add to his relationship with Spider-Man. You just kind of made us assume that this was what it was. We didn't know why. We didn't even get this. Like, Punisher kills people. You know what I mean? Like, murders people. Spider-Man does not. There should be way more like, yo, we that dynamic should. The conversation he had on the roof with Daredevil, he should have at least had something similar with Spider-Man. Maybe Spider-Man, I wouldn't say he convinced them to do something different, even though at the end of the movie, it kind of seemed like they made it seem that way. I hope they didn't. I really hope they don't try to take Punisher in a friendlier route, but it just didn't. I just didn't understand why. That's why I just didn't understand why. There are stretches during the second act when Peter and MJ meaningfully address their mismatched feelings, one example of which is distractingly framed against the same neon sign from the end of Madam Web, whose web, to be fair, does not connect them all. All right. But it's maddening how often Brand New Day sidelines its core relationship in order to spend more time on its villains' hopelessly wrote backstory, which stops the movie dead in its tracks, or its depiction of the Department of Damage Control, which is tasked with bringing enhanced individuals to heal by flagrantly inspired by another Sony property, or its seemingly infinite supply of New York City helicopter shots, which seem out of place in a movie that's otherwise shot in downtown Glasgow. All right, hold on. Let me go back up to that. So I didn't give a fuck about the Madam Web thing. I didn't see the sign. I watched Madam Web once. Nobody liked that shit. But when they said it sidelines its core relationship in order to spend more time on his villain's hopeless backstory, the relationship between him and MJ, once again, is fucking boring, dog. We came to see superheroes be superheroes. We did not come to see how they really feel about each other. Let's get deep into our feelings and talk about, like, bro, come on, bro. Come on. We get that it's part of the story. We get that it's necessary, but they spent way too much time on it. And to say that it distracts from the villain's hopelessly wrote backstory, the villain's backstory is a bigger waste of time than their relationship. Bro, Jean Grey and her sister, I'm sorry, we just don't, I couldn't give a fuck, because where's Professor X? Where's the X-Men? Where's Cyclops? Where are her parents? It's just like, it seemed like a big waste to introduce Jean into this way, but to introduce Jean Grey as the villain just seems like, okay, she's not the villain. So when are we going to get to the evil guy? When are we going to get to the bad guy? And it's the bad guy is just some regular guy who works for the Department of Control. What? What? Not Kingpin. Not Smite. You know what I mean? None of them motherfuckers. You know, let me stop. Restless, yes. I kept moving around. I didn't get really mad at Brand New Day until near the end. Yes. Oh my gosh, man. I'm glad this person is kind of experienced a lot of the same things I did. It's like, bro, you start getting pissed. When it comes into focus, just how little the sequel has moved the ball down the field in regard to Peter Parker's story, yes. This could have been a vertical short, much like Spider-Man. The Marvel Cinematic Universe knows that it can't go back to the way things were, but it's also absolutely clueless how to push forward. Yeah. Because that's what the whole movie feels like. It's like you guys don't know what the fuck to do with Spider. After No Way Home, and you had no clue. You had no clue, and the movie just undoes everything that it did last movie. While Peter Parker has come to embody that uncomfortable stasis better than any other character in Kevin Feige's domain, he has also come to suffer its consequences worse than any of his fellow Avengers, new and not. By the end of his latest solo adventure in the MCU, prevailing need to stall for a time has forced Spider-Man into a situation that feels miles removed from the wrenching predicament he faced at the start. Yeah, a situation relatable only to the small portion of the audience who quite literally had to choose between mechanical web shooters and organic wristjes. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it started off, it felt like, oh, shit's going down. When someone was jumping through people's bodies, taking control, it felt like, oh, shit, some shit's going down. We don't know who this person is. And then as it got closer to the end, it became less and less dire. Like, the situation became less and less dire at the end. Normally, by the third act, they take it up a notch. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and then the world is gonna end. Like, at first it was the town, and now it's the city, and now the world is gonna. That's about. This one went the opposite direction. Like, oh, we got big problems. Oh, it's not that big of a problem. Oh, it's a little problem. Like, by the time you get to the end, you're like, all right, well, I guess there ain't no issue, man. Like, it's just I couldn't get with it, man. Let me get to it. The movie tries to remedy that disappointment with some razzmatazz about the power of friendship and a handful of enjoyable flourishes. Cretton is a more sure-footed stylist than his predecessor, John Watts. And though none of the set pieces here live up to the bus fight he directed in Shang-Chi, a visually dynamic tank chase through downtown Manhattan and a TV on the radio needle drop are enough in and of themselves to give Brand New Day more personality than any live action Spider-Man film since the Raimi days. But damage control is still the name of the game. And this movie causes more problems than it cures. Spider-Man can't do it all by himself. At this rate, someone will need to come alongside to save him too. Man, I have to agree with most of the things that this article has said. David Elrich, I can't even say your name, bro. Rolick. I don't even know. I can't even say that. Either way, the movie was boring as fuck. It was dull. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't push. It didn't take Peter Parker anywhere, but back to where he was. It didn't take Spider-Man anywhere, but back to where he was. And it didn't take the MCU anywhere, but back to where it was. And overall, the storyline was boring. Some of the best fights I've ever seen, some of the best action I've ever seen, some of the best webbing and swinging I've ever seen, but damn, what a disappointment. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe. Now.
Don't play with my patience. Man, they gone with the flow when they trying to fake it. That's not the way I roll, that's not the combination. You start off with the dough before you start the conversation. No one start the salutations, man, don't play with me. I'm coming from a place they would hate to be. I'm going through a phase you would hate to see. They say this life's a trip. Ain't no telling where it's taking me. When you on the edge and you make your next move, better be your best. Before you throw it to the depths, better reinvest. Man, I count every moment and count every step, so I know I'm blessed. Now